Here we go again. It's the last full day, correct? Shall Yeah. Last day is a perception, and that affects your mind in a certain way. So if you had a good retreat, last day is if you had a bad retreat, yay, last day. Shall It's like that. But that which is not the last day or the first day is awareness. So you can know, you don't have to feel anything special. You can feel grateful or not feel grateful. You can think you had a good retreat or a terrible retreat. You can think I'll never do this again or I'll do it tomorrow. So awareness never runs out of batteries. It's true. It's like the energy bunny, energizer bunny. Anyway, so I just maybe reflected a bit on mudita. So mudita is one of the 4 Brahma Viharas. We don't have an English equivalent for the word mudita. So it's usually translated as appreciation or sympathetic joy or empathetic appreciation. So it's a combination of empathy and appreciation. Karuna is a combination of, or is a kind of empathy for someone's pain. So it's a kind of connection to, mudita is a connection to something beautiful or joyous or successful or lovely in another person. And of course, the opposite is jealousy and envy. And what did we say? Jealousy was what was it? Icha. And there was another word, hung or something. That's heavier, is it? Oh, let's not talk that. No, we're not going there. I'm a monk. Back to jealousy. So I had I have a new object of mudita now. Anyone who can raise the right arm. It's true, right? So I noticed Yom Vibun was doing the Tai Chi, and I thought, oh, look at that. He raised his right arm. Oh, beautiful. Now, the question is, if I saw Donald Trump raise his right hand, would I have joy? So I'm being facetious, but you could see if you were jealous or envious of someone, if they raised their right arm, you wouldn't say, oh, good on you, or whatever. So envy and jealousy are states which alienate, right? So if I looked at Yom Vibun's right arm and I thought, oh, he's got a right arm and I don't have a right arm, then that's alienation. So the Brahma Viharas are connection, aren't they? I connect to your goodness or to your success or to your suffering. And that's a way of going beyond craving and wanting. A lot of our craving and wanting can be kind of interpersonal. Having said that, if jealousy arises, it's not wrong. It just arises. It's also natural. It's not pretty. It's not joyous. It's alienating. So don't believe in it. That's all. But don't try to get rid of it, because then you're still, you're struggling in trying to make things right in the foreground. The foreground is important because it can bring a lot of joy. So when I see someone like all these interviews, people have fabulous insights. It's really lovely to hear. And some insights I haven't had, or some experiences I haven't had. I'm like, wow, good on you. So that's the foreground, but that's not insignificant. Joy is not insignificant. Sila is not insignificant. They're very important, because if the foreground is just confused with immorality or jealousy and all of that, then you're just in a soup of suffering. So we're trying to really pay attention to those elements in our lives which unify us in some sense, and those elements which alienate us. And then those things in our own character, which we are alienated from. You know, there's like, I might be very idealistic. I'm a good Buddhist, I'm a practitioner, I keep the sila, but I hate her. Oh, wait. And I wish she didn't have that Gucci bag or whatever you will. And that's neither good nor bad. It's just akusala. It's not skillful. And if you see it as akusala and you don't invest any belief in it, it will die. It will die. But you have to be very patient with it. If you believe in it as a reality, so you either hate yourself or you hate the other, then there's no way out, because you've identified with the wrong thing. You've identified with an emotion rather than identify with the awareness, with the knowing. If you identify more with the knowing, then when you get akusala karma coming into consciousness, then you know, well, that's unskillful. So you practice right thought, right speech, right action, but you also practice patience and acceptance and even welcoming. Oh, jealousy feels this way. Then you'll be okay. Jealousy is not who you really are. So don't become that, but also don't think that you shouldn't experience that. And then the other, when you do feel mudita for someone raising their right arm, if that ever arises in your mind, then encourage that. You know, just keep reinforcing that, which is beautiful. And the Brahma Viharas are the kind of beautiful expression of human consciousness, the kind of emotional intelligence, maybe, you know, we use that kind of language. So Upekkha is the peaceful coexistence with the foreground as it presents itself to us. And sometimes Upekkha, we translate it as equanimity, but it to me, because it's part of the whole Brahma Vihara package, to me, there's something of the heart in it. So it's not cold. Like, you know, you fall down, you break your leg. I said, chui chui. It's not like that, right? If you're hurt, then I say, oh, that must be really painful. That's what empathy is. And then if I can help you, I try to help you, but then I'm not the Lord of the universe. Sometimes I can't help you. Sometimes you have to go through your own suffering, as we all do. So even though I might have empathy for you, I might not have the resources or the possibility of fixing your suffering. You have to fix it yourself somehow. And that's true, isn't it? That's true for all of us. So Upekkha is accepting having empathy for people's beauty or suffering, and then what can I do? How can I help? So karuna is the call to action. Compassion is the call to action. I need to do something here. I try to help. But then karuna very easily can go into worry. And worry is not karuna. Worry is worry. So the heart goes to the head and it starts to spin out into worry, which is not that. So these kind of ideas are if they're just left as ideas, then they're pretty, you know, they're a nice part of the Buddhist package. But then obviously you want to enable them or encourage them. So I just find the more you can just abide with the heart. Yeah. So again, like this morning, another meditation where I was tired again. All right, open the eyes. Here we go. Is this what my mind is doing right now? So I was really contemplating, you know, what is the best way to be with dullness? And I saw that in the spaces where the mind closed down and I opened it up, just go to the heart. And then it wasn't like a struggle, you know, monk against dullness, docile kind of mindset. It was dullness is there, and it closes the eye, and it closes the system down, and then it's noticing, and then come to the heart. And that, just watching how that works, that the end of the sitting, it wasn't like a battle, and the heart has a lot of serenity and a lot of happiness, actually. Whereas, like, I think I'm kind of playing off of in the interview where you said, I hate that. And I certainly had that, the kind of hatred of dullness, because it's such a dull state of mind and unpleasant. But that won't work, because then it makes it, and then at the end of it, you just feel like you're kind of stressed out by it. So whatever the defilement is, or the clouding of the mind, I do think that somehow resolving it, being more and more familiar with the heart, is very, very helpful. So just like in that meditation, just okay, well, how does dullness manifest? I'm straight now. Okay, it's in the eyes, and I'm thinking. Okay, and then notice that, because my posture, I kept my posture strong and I kept my eyes open. If I hadn't done that, then of course I would just think I'm meditating, and I'd be in la la land or whatever you call it. So there has to be some reference that helps me to see the defilement coming out. But then I thought, oh, you can't fight this. It just is the way it is. And then, oh yeah, the heart. And what does the heart feel like? So between the arising and passing of the dullness, there was the sustaining of the heart chakra. And so the end of it was just very nice. And also I noticed it wasn't such a long sitting. Like if you're fighting something, you begin at the first minute and you fight it for 45 minutes. It's horrible. And it's not 45 minutes, it's 45 hours. So awakening is like, it's not buying into, like in this case, the defilement of dullness. It's not buying into it, but it's also not fighting it. It's understanding it. And that's the skill of the meditator, using the tools of meditation. So I find that any instances of the heart opening, I try to really recognize that. So I see someone raising their right hand, and I can't wait to see Mr. Trump raise his right hand and see what happens. I'll probably feel jealous. But seriously, we have lots of instances where people are like, they give us a cup of tea, or they take care of us, or something beautiful happens. And those are always, we say, oh, thank you. Those are heart experiences, aren't they? They're always kind of touching the heart. And the more we become conversant with that, the more we can turn to that. So I tend to use these two analogies, background, foreground, heart, head. And there are analogies. You won't really find a strict foreground or a strict background. There's no real line, but you can see what it means. And head and heart, I think that's a really good analogy or metaphor for understanding how this human condition works. So thought, analysis, planning, very important. But then what's the downside of a good intellect? What's the downside of really good analytical skills? Is that's the only place I go. I only go to analysis. And yet I'm not just an intellectual being. I'm a heart being, I'm a physical being, I'm all these different kinds of manifestations. So then if you only cultivate the heart, you can be very naive too. So we have intelligence, but we also have the Brahma Viharas. And I think that's very important to constantly turn to that. And so like in the interviews, when Yom Tanit said that the welcoming, that's a lovely word, isn't it? It's a simple word. It's a very simple word, but you put that into the way you're paying attention, kind of softens, doesn't it? So I started to welcome dullness. And you said, I really didn't want it. But then the tone was much more actually intelligent, because I was allowing it to come into consciousness. Okay, what's it really feel like? So intelligence was able to operate because there was the acceptance of this the way it is now. So when we think about Penyang Niang as a kind of constant remembering of our practice, it's quite good, because if you say it's like this, you can see what you're creating on top of it. So if you feel really annoyed at someone, say, you say, oh, annoyance is like this, and you can see how you're spinning around with the annoyance. You see annoyance as this package, and then what am I creating around annoyance? But if you say to yourself, it's their fault, or I shouldn't be annoyed, you're not really doing Penyang Niang. You're not really awakening to annoyance. You're already bought into it, either through self-negation or negation of someone else. So it's so profound just to actually notice how things are. It really is profound. And then, okay, what am I creating on that? Do I really have to, if I feel annoyed, do I really have to believe in it? Or do I have to hate myself? If I feel jealousy, am I like, is that homicide? Should I go to jail? No, it's just the way it is. So we experience as human beings the beautiful and the ugly. And the knowing is neither beautiful nor ugly. It's not a quality, and I keep hammering away on that theme. It's not a quality. It doesn't have a size. It's not masculine. It's not feminine. It's not monk. It's not layperson. It's not Buddhist. Like, is Buddhist awareness better than Christian awareness? Of course, because it doesn't make any sense, does it? Right? Doesn't make any sense at all. So you take refuge in that, but you do take care of the emotional world by being intelligent around it and cultivating wholesome attitudes in terms of the Brahmaviharas. Then the kind of foreground that you live in has less and less desire, because the Brahmaviharas are very fulfilling, right? And so as you have less desire, because the foreground is a more simpatico place to live and to abide in, you find you don't have the desire to distract or get rid of. You find a kind of heart fulfillment, and that, of course, is a foundation for contemplating the deeper levels of silence. So this modeling of foreground background is kind of simplistic, but both are important. Both are very, very important. So maybe next year you'll see me raise my hand. You say, "Wow, sadhu, sadhu, sadhu." I hope so. Okay, let's do some meditation. I won't give you any instruction. We'll just sit quietly.